I know.
Great, we're live. Sorry for everybody that was on at 8 o'clock Pacific. Yeah, we had a little bit of a technical problem, so we are live now. We're here with Larysa Melnychuk, Managing Organizational Value, FP&A Trends Survey 2023 results with Larysa. So thanks, Larysa, for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me, James, and it's such a privilege to be part of this webinar.
Yeah, so Larysa joins us today from FP&A Trends. She has 25 years of experience in the industry and is responsible for creating FP&A Trends, the leading online resource for FP&A professionals. Her company not only provides advisory services for the FP&A industry, but focuses on education, nonprofit projects, and helps improve knowledge and best practices within the profession. Larysa also founded FP&A Board in 2013, known as the global think tank that brings together the most experience of FP&A individuals. Unique in its global reach, there are now FP&A Board chapters in 32 cities and 18 countries across Europe, Middle East, Asia, Australia, and North America. She is a regular conference speaker around the world and is with us today to discuss the FP&A Trends results from 2023 survey. Thanks very much for joining us, Larysa.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, it's very exciting. So,
absolutely, let us start.
Yeah, so I just wanted to touch on the FP&A Board. So anybody listening in, if you aren't a member of the FP&A Board yet, please look out for the board coming to a city near you. And Larysa, she loves traveling around the world, so there's a good chance you get to meet her in person. So very excited, just giving you a little bit of information about FP&A Strategy itself. So FP&A Strategy was started in 2012 with the vision of empowering finance teams and allowing them to be more productive by leveraging technology. Throughout my career as a financial professional, I have built solutions to make my life easier and wanted to share the experience. The research that we've done with Larysa and her team have found that between 42 and 45% of time finance professionals have spent is actually on low-value activities such as data collection and data validation. We believe at FP&A Strategy that with a small amount of help from technology, we can eliminate all those low-value activities, freeing up time to allow FP&A professionals to do what they do best, helping the business. Firstly, Larysa, very exciting to have you here, and I believe that you have just started on the 2024 FP&A Trends Survey. So do you mind giving us a little bit of kind of high level of what the FP&A Trends Survey is, what you do with the data, and then I believe that there's a link in the comments that you can kind of, if anybody's watching this, they can sign up and share kind of their experience in FP&A so you can get some more responses.
James, thank you so much for all of those introductions. And what I would like to say that I would like to remind everyone that you've been the part of this journey, and this journey with the survey, it's already more than 7 years. I cannot believe that time is flying so quickly. And of course, you know very well all the trends. And I'm looking forward to this discussion and for us to brainstorm why we see those trends. Before I start to share the top 5 trends of the survey, the main conclusion from this work in year 2023, I would say that the world is incredible at the moment. The world is volatile and uncertainty is very high. And the question that we ask, can we even plan or forecast for uncertainty? Is it even possible? And is our profession still relevant? The reality is yes, but let us look at the trends. And what I want to say as a conclusion, the world around us is changing much quicker than our profession, that our ecosystem that allows us to be flexible and dynamic. So very quickly, let me share the top 5 trends. Data quality continues to be one of the biggest problems, with 80% of those CFOs and finance directors saying that It's really a problem. It's one of the biggest issues. And James, you know that it was like this over the years, and it's never improved. So we will discuss this, but over 45% of time is spent on data validation, data cleansing, and it's not improving. We will look at the questions why a little bit later. So this is the first trend. The second one, in terms of technology implementation, we are still not there, with 52% still using Excel for planning and forecasting, practically from 80 to 100% of their time. Cloud technology for FP&A is only used by 20% of companies, and just a slight improvement over the last year, only 1%. But actually, use in FP&A of predictive analytics, AI/ML, it's even decreased over the last 2 years by 4%. And at the moment, it's only 7% of companies using. Maybe you would say it's not so bad, 7%, because some people think that it's zero. But when we looked at this and it was already 11% in year 2021, we would like to understand why. So the third trend, it's all about FP&A skills, and it still continues to be one of the most difficult positions to fill. Why? Because there are so many requirements to the modern FP&A professional. Not only the analyst, but also FP&A data scientist, or at least the bridge between data and finance. Understanding the technology, understanding how you can build this technology ecosystem. It's a storyteller and influencer, because we need to shake the status quo organization. And then the question is, something that I described, is it really exist in the world? That is why we are talking about FP&A teams to build. The next trend for us, number 4, is the processes. And if I say to you that the majority of companies, they're still very traditional in their budgeting, planning, forecast, in their variance analysis. So they still spend a lot of time on these target negotiations, on top-down, bottom-up consolidation, and all of that. So the processes are not there yet. We are still not, like in this rolling forecast or flexible dynamic planning. And of course, agility, this is the main purpose at the moment. And if we wish to check how agile is the organization, we have to look at how quickly they manage their run scenarios. And at the moment, only 16% of organizations can run scenarios in less than 1 day. Less than 1 day. The reality is we should push off the button and run the scenario in the best case scenario. And actually, it's dropped by 4%. So it's really worsening. And 26% of organizations, oh my God, it takes them more than 1 week to manage to play one scenario. 1/4 of those organizations. So we are not there yet, unfortunately.
No, that's crazy. I think, I've been involved with it for, I think, what is it now, the 8th year or the 7th year? And
it's already, yeah.
Yeah, and it's it's incredible to see kind of how how static the trends are remaining. One of the ones that I've been tracking is really kind of understanding, and this one is I think it's a relatively easy one to solve, but it obviously is a big challenge. Is on kind of just how much time FP&A professionals spend on low value activities. I mean, this has been tracking within a kind of 42% to 45%. We actually in LinkedIn we actually had a survey of kind of asking the question, how much time do you think FP&A people spend on low value activities? And I think only 30% of them guessed that 45 was the kind of the number that was in the survey. Why do you think this number is increasing? The amount of time spent on low value activities, and maybe you can help just define what kind of the difference between the low value, the medium, and the high value activities of an FP&A professional as defined in the survey.
First of all, the main mission of FP&A to help to manage the value of the company. And of course, we all would like to share the stories, to share the insights, to support the decision-making process. But at the moment, we spend only around 1/4 of time on this. 45% of time, something that we call low value adding activity. This is the when we are dealing with data. And actually, it's improved a little bit over the last 5 years. Do you remember when we started? It was over 55%. You see, so it's improved, but it didn't catch up with the environment, with what is happening around the globe. 45% is spent on cleansing the data, uh, reconciling the data, and all of that. Why? The main answer is that we are not there yet. Ecosystem, FP&A ecosystem, it's not only technology. There are some other important things that we will uncover during this conversation. So I would say that somehow we are not there yet. But to continue on data quality, on data management, I would say that there are a lot of debates. Who is responsible for data management, FP&A, anyone else? It depends on organization. But one of the biggest next question that FP&A is struggling and CFO struggling at the moment, from this data to identify the key drivers that we can use for scenario management, for planning.
That's great. So, I mean, what would you say, like the strategies like a CFO should adopt to kind of get his teams out of the kind of that low value work? I mean, how does he go? How do you think they should go about kind of approaching this problem?
We've been doing this work over the last 7 years at International FP&A Board with dozens of thousands of people in 18 countries. And we created FP&A Board maturity model. I believe that the link to the maturity model is also could be, people can find this at the commentaries. So the main conclusion, and it was created not by consultants, not by vendors, it was created by senior FP&A practitioners from around the globe. So what we discovered that, and we all know this, but we would like to understand what are the stages of maturity of organization, because you cannot start run before you start walk or crawl. This is why we discovered that there are 5 levels of maturity, and should be 8 different dimensions that we should evaluate. And of course, generally speaking, it's all about your data and models. Generally speaking, it's all about how you integrate your processes. It's about what technology you use and how you use it, how you create the architecture of this technology. And of course, the soft dimensions such as your FP&A team, how multifunctional it is, how motivated are people. Because if it's organization that very traditional, you will lose the best people from your organization and you still will be at the same world. And of course, it's about FP&A business partnering, what it involves, and so on so far. So what I want to say that what is important for you to evaluate where you are comparing to the leaders, those companies that already at the agile state of planning and forecasting, and then to create your individual steps for transformation.
So we have a question from Stephen, and he's talking a little bit, and it's kind of like jumping around a little bit, but he's asking kind of what are the root causes for kind of why is this that it takes so long to do scenario analysis or sensitivity analysis?
I think because our school of management accounting is very strong. You see, I think the community of Beyond Budgeting was asking this question many years ago, almost for 20 years now, yeah? And it's still there. I think altogether those people that work in finance department, and especially if you are responsible for running the budgeting and forecasting process around the globe, around different departments, we understand how political it could be. We understand that the culture is not there yet. There are many, many, many reasons. What do you think, James? What is your observation?
I mean, I think, it comes back to some of the things we talked about, like, the three-legged stool of technology, people, and process. I think, what we're seeing is that a lot of, when looking at a scenario analysis, a lot of people are trying to do a scenario on an Excel spreadsheet, and then they forgot that they hard coded something, and it kind of everything falls apart. So, that's from a technology standpoint. And then you've got the process. Again, there's a lot of data that's being pulled into kind of these planning scenarios, and it's not easy. You talked a little bit about doing driver-based analysis. I think when you start to look at driver-based analysis, I think that helps to kind of speed up the process, because then you're looking at the drivers and doing scenarios on the drivers, not kind of like the underlying numbers. And then the people part of it, again, it's sort of like to be able to kind of get insights from people. And a lot of the historic way of doing planning is kind of everything's done offline, and you have a consolidation tool that kind of pulls everything together. And it's really difficult to kind of get an understanding of exactly how that person put that plan together to be able to then kind of do that scenario analysis on top of it. So I think, again, the challenges tend to be quite wide across, all of those kind of areas. And, how we go about solving them, I mean, the technology is improving. It's getting better. Cloud-based solutions are improving the way that companies are looking at planning. But again, if you can't afford kind of like, the more expensive planning solutions, then, there's also, you need to address sort of the process, the data, the drivers, and, a lot of other areas. What are your thoughts, Larysa?
Absolutely agree with you, James. You see, normally when we have conversations at our chapters around the globe, I like to share the uncertainty cone. It's quite well-known uncertainty cone that actually shows that the traditional planning methods, they work at the beginning, and what is happening, and they work within the predictability span. And somehow we assume that predictability span is 12 years and more, or 12 months and more. The reality is that when I ask people, what is your span of predictability? Many say a couple of weeks, a couple of months, 3 months, 4 months, and there will be maybe only 1 or 2 people in the room who say, yeah, we are lucky to have this 12 because we have the contracts, because we have the mining business or pharmacological business. The reality is that everything, if our predictability span is decreasing, we just cannot use the traditional methods of planning and forecasting, because the world will be much quicker around us. And it's all about scenario management. It's all about scanning the world. And for this, we need a very good model with the drivers that are changing all the time. We need to have the ecosystem that support us. And if we spend a lot of time on trying to find what are those key drivers, this is not helping us.
Yeah, no, that's great. So I had a question from William as well. Sorry, I'm kind of adding questions in because it's kind of helps to make it a little bit more interactive. He talks about, you mentioned kind of the data maturity model and kind of the steps that you're taking, and he had a question about like how would that work for a small company? Is that are you able to kind of go through that maturity model for a small company, or is it just for large companies?
The good thing about those general FP&A trends that they are size agnostic, they're vendor agnostic, the industry agnostic. The reality is that something that is true for big organization is definitely true for small organization. Small organization also should be flexible and dynamic. Small organization also should understand the key drivers and be and to have the dynamic model. And the good news that for small organizations, it's easy to achieve because you don't have the complexity of 120 general ledgers and 500 old systems that were acquired during the acquisition, and people in 120 countries that speak 150 languages and don't understand the same terms. That is why it's absolutely applicable to your small organization. And please look at this and let me know. Let us know.
My recommendation for small organizations is, one of the biggest problems that large organizations have are that master data management. Everybody having the same definition for data everywhere and the same kind of view of what a data element is, and being able to kind of pull data in from your operation systems that tie to your financial systems, etc. As a small company, I think you have a huge advantage of being able to kind of get that right from the beginning. And I know I've seen this happen many times. I've got a client that has had a great master data management solution, but then somebody built it, they kind of deployed it, and it was working really well, and then it sort of got neglected. And unfortunately, we're in a situation now where it's going to take years to kind of clean that up, because it's an area that is, when it comes to data, and especially kind of looking at that low value activity, most of it is just cleaning up master data management, making sure that your Salesforce names tie to the names that you've got in your general ledger, tie to your all of like the areas where you kind of see data kind of colliding, that really getting that piece right. So I think there's that would be my piece of advice on that. So I'm going to jump back to kind of some of the questions, and then we'll get to some more of the questions I had, and then we'll get back to some more of the questions that you guys are posting. But again, feel free to post questions in the chat. I think there's some really good questions coming up, so we'll try and get to everybody's question. But when we're looking at this concept of digital transformation, we've heard digital transformation a lot. I mean, since we've been doing the survey for the last 7 years. And but yet we're still seeing that only 20% of people have a single source of truth. Do you think that like finance organizations or finance transformation initiatives have failed, or is there some other reason why we're not seeing that companies have a better control over their having a single source of truth to do their forecasting of?
As we already discussed, this is a very complex problem, and the reality is that in order to see the single source of truth, we really have to manage our data. But some organizations, they still just identifying what are the key data for them. It's absolutely unprecedented environment, even for those organizations that have a lot of data. Sometimes they're struggling, and sometimes for their decision making, they're using not only data, but also their intuition. At our meetings, we have high-tech organizations such as Amazon, for example. And on a number of occasions, you would think that such organization as Amazon definitely understand their data and drivers, and all their decisions are based on data. But then many people say that it's never should be only on data. It should be a healthy combination of your vision, of your intuition, and of course data. And the reason for this is that look at this, historical data maybe are not right for what is happening around us. You see, there are business models are changing, there are new technologies coming into our world that we never knew they existed. And should we use those historic data for making decisions? Probably not. So this is the combination of your vision and combination of your data analytics, I would say. But what is important, very often combination of the vision, subjective information, if it's traditional budgeting process, if it's traditional budgeting and forecasting environment, very often it could be biased. Very often it could be about negotiation and negotiating the lower targets. So how to find this way where people are sharing their vision, they're putting together some of the concepts that may be happening, maybe not. So this is my answer.
Great. So looking at you ask a question on forecast accuracy, and it seems to be a big challenge, and obviously their forecast accuracy is kind of one piece of it. But 40% of companies are saying that their forecasts are accurate or good. That leaves 60% that are kind of not happy with the accuracy of their forecasts. Things are starting to stabilize or get back to normal, the new normal after the pandemic. Why do you think that forecast accuracy is still a challenge, or is there a better way of looking at forecast accuracy as a whole?
James, forecast accuracy concept, it's part of our traditional management accounting. And I remember, like, in my companies, we were calculating it, and some managers, they were even managing this because it was part of their bonuses and all of that. I think in this incredible world, the term forecast accuracy probably outdated. It's not about the accuracy of your particular quarterly forecast. It's about your agility and ability to reforecast, replan practically on demand. And the reality is that at the moment when you react to the trends that you see, you are changing your actions and you are changing your forecast, and it's a good thing. So the forecast that you did 1 quarter ago, it's not there, and it's a good thing. So let us look at this way. It's all about agility. It's not about the quality of your quarterly forecasts. If we are talking about daily or weekly forecasts, then yes, this is already agility, but not many can do this.
Yeah,
This
so
is
I
the
think,
answer.
yeah, no, my experience, we were doing weekly forecasts when I was working as an FP&A professional, and that was crazy being able to kind of get that level of agility, and it took a lot of support from solutions, etc. So again, one of the questions that came up with is, is technology directly related to kind of that stage of maturity, or is technology just a kind of an enabler? So, as you mature through a process of that, your maturity, do you need to, if you don't have technology implemented, can you still get to kind of being a kind of best in class?
Absolutely. Technology is enabler. And if you have bad process and static model, technology will enable this. You will have even worse results. So technology should come with the dynamic model, with the flexible process, with people that know how to use it. And this is very, very, very important. So technology is the enabler. And this is the reason why we created this model. This is the reason why we interviewed so many people, and so many FP&A board members worked on this. So we have to look at this as an ecosystem. The question is that, can you be successful about the technology? I would say that there are, I know organizations that moved the maturity only through implementation of fully driver-based model in Excel. But then this is a journey. This is not a destination. You definitely will be much better than before, but then the environment is much quicker. Let us remember about this. The environment, the uncertainty, it will be changing much quicker than we can adjust to this. So there is a moment when the driver-based model in Excel is not going to serve you, and you're not going to be the leading organization and flexible organization. So what I want to say that there are different steps that definitely can move your maturity to the next level. Fully driver-based model, hiring FP&A architect, person who understands the technology and who can help you to choose the good technology architecture, infrastructure. Hiring the person who understands both data science world and finance, or maybe developing your people, it also will make a difference. I saw how quite junior data scientists who are also finance person could transform the company in the matter of 2 months. 2 months. So there are some steps that are not even expensive. But with the clever steps, you can definitely transform. But obviously, technology is enhancer. If you really want to be agile, you have to consider good technology infrastructure, not only to implement this once, but to see how the world is changing and adjusting with this.
No, that's great. So we touched a little bit on driver-based modeling, and you mentioned it a couple of times, but we're seeing that declining in your surveys. 21, we had 58% of people, 22, 55, and 23 now 48%. What do you think? Have you got any thoughts on why this trend is declining?
James, I think the answer is similar to the answer why AI/ML technology, use of AI/ML technology is declining for the last 2 years. Look at this incredible amount of data. After COVID, it's increased a little bit, but then with everything what is happening, it started to decline. We explain this with the incredible amount of data that sometimes some people just cannot manage this, cannot even understand what are those key drivers and what they should be doing with this, you see. And of course, the fact that the future could be not exactly what data describe. We call driver-based modeling, this is the lower stage of predictive planning and forecasting. Yeah, because if you have fully driver-based model, you're really in much better place. You're already predictive. The majority of companies around the globe have partially driver-based model, revenue, variable expenses, but nothing else. No, we are talking about fully driver-based model, because only fully driver-based model will allow you to manage scenarios. Yeah, but then again, when you're growing with this, you understand that it's not enough. And there are some drivers that you are not taking into consideration with your human brain, with Excel, with the model that you produced 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Definitely to enhance this with the predictive analytics and then to start AI/ML, definitely it's the way to go. But the reason why it's decreased, it's all because of those reasons. Yeah. We are
Yeah.
not there yet.
So when you're talking about driver-based models and the AI and ML kind of models, and using a lot of the clients that I work with, a large percentage of their models are based on kind of drivers that are internal. Do you see there's a trend to start using more external driver-based data as well? External data to drive models, or is it kind of still the trend is to use kind of more internal driver-based data?
I would say that it's different, and ask the questions. If the company is using this driver-based model for the last 5 years, without checking, without changing the drivers, most likely it's already outdated. And I think COVID-19 situation really we learned a lot, because in March 2020 we had a lot of outdated budgets and debt forecasts, and everyone was trying to manage to run scenarios. So those drivers that we don't know they exist, they are most powerful drivers, and we all should be on look of this. And outside drivers that we cannot control, definitely we should be managing scenarios on those. And the reality is that it's like the living organism, the driver-based model. We have to find the way in order to identify 20% of drivers that can explain 80% of our results. We wouldn't be able to have models on thousands of drivers, but what are those most critical ones? And what is interesting, the drivers are appearing and disappearing. Some of them already dead and not so sensitive, but we're still running, we're still managing them. Let us see what we can do with the external one. And as we already mentioned, the modern technology can even help us with the drivers to understand the behavior of market, behavior of our customers, behavior of our competitors.
No, that's great. So we're going to switch gears a little bit. Going to talk about people. So one of the survey questions asks, what skills you're looking for in an FP&A person. Analytic skills continues to dominate with about 45%, but what we've noticed a bit of a change in is business partnering skills have increased from 24 to 41%. So do you think that's a good sign for FP&A, that the demand for business partnering is increasing?
I think this is the fact is that it's not enough for us to be just analysts. We recognize that we have to tell the story, we have to influence, we have to serve our community with the analytical data. You see, so we have to understand what is happening in the world with technology. So this is just proof that FP&A department, it's not only the department of classical traditional analysts, but also we have those bridges. We have multifunctional skills. We need the bridges between IT department and finance, between data department and finance as well. We need storytellers, we need influencers. So FP&A business partnering increase, and FP&A business partnering, it's to describe it, it's really consists of all of this ability not only to serve, but to shake the status quo, to change, to transform. And the survey reflects this. We need to be there.
No, that sounds great. Next question is talking a little bit about this concept. Now, it's a new renewal survey, and I understand that it's kind of not new concept, but I quite like the concept, and it's called continual budgeting. Just continual budgeting means that you have a plan and you can constantly update it, and then you take a snapshot whenever you can, at the end of the week or the end of the month or end of the quarter. But there's always, the availability of the plan. What are your thoughts, advantages and disadvantages of kind of adopting this continual plan forecasting method, or is there a better way of looking at it?
James, it's another word for this is agile planning. Yeah, reforecasting, replanning, and ability for you to reforecast and replan on demand. And again, once again, to answer this question, we need to have ecosystem, the balanced ecosystem, in order to be there. For many years already, we know that traditional methods don't work. You see, so in my companies, when I was global FP&A director, we were talking about this over 10 years ago. As I said, beyond budgeting people, we're talking about this for almost 20 years now, that traditional methods don't work. Ability to be agile, ability to reforecast, replan, ability to manage scenarios, it's all the same. So to me, this is the most important thing that we should implement in our organizations. And by the way, I forget to mention that going back to people to be able to do all of this, we did our research and we finalized the results in the paper. And we believe that there are 5 FP&A team roles that we should have in our organization. People can play multiple roles to be there. It's not possible, practically not possible, to have everything what is required from the skills point of view in one human being. It's all about team that you create. And the paper, I believe that it should be in the commentaries, 5 FP&A team roles, if you would like to download and look at this in more details. But I hope I answered the question about continuous budgeting and planning, James.
Yeah, no, that's great. So just looking at sort of the cloud-based planning, the market of cloud-based planning solutions has exploded, and we're seeing that there's new startups entering the space. But the survey is showing that the number of people using these solutions has only increased by 1%. So, going from 20% to 21%. The majority of people continue to use Excel and other, spreadsheets to be able to do their planning. What do you think is holding companies back from adopting these cloud-based solutions?
First of all, James, it's increased a little bit over the last 7 years. Do you remember it was 12% when we started? So it's really not bad, but not as quick as we would like to. Many people say that it's very difficult to justify the investment in technology. So maybe this is one of the biggest reasons. It's all connected. FP&A is still spending a lot of time in low value adding activities, not value adding as it should. And maybe because of this experience, it doesn't show that it could be value adding function. So there are many, many different reasons why, but not every organization is investing in technology. It could be also FP&As that really like the Excel. I know so many situations when the technology is implemented, yeah. And if this technology is really reliant on IT, like older generation technology, it's very likely that FP&A people, they will start to create a lot of bridges because they control it. But when you call IT person and ask them, I need help, they say, your ticket number 5. So wait for 2 weeks. And we don't have time to wait. So what is important for people to understand that there are technologies that practically as flexible as Excel and very easily manageable. And very importantly, they're away from the IT people responsibility. So I think maybe this learning and understanding is still not as quick as we would like to.
Yeah, no, that's definitely an area that we kind of focus on when we think about cloud-based planning. We want the business to be in control of the solution, not IT. And IT is definitely somebody that can support. But the more, like you say, it's like Excel. A lot of people within a finance organization know how to use Excel. It's easy to learn. If you've got a problem, you can look online. And I think some of the planning solutions are becoming closer to that, where you are, as a finance professional, you're able to then go and update and make changes to the solution. And I think the more traditional solutions, that's always been a problem, like you say, to be able to kind of get to be able to make changes and be able to be agile, as we talked a little bit about. You need to have a flexible planning solution. So again, I think there's still a long way for cloud solutions to go to bridge that gap of being completely easy to update by an FP&A professional. But I think that bridge is the gap is closing. So I think the future is that planning solutions will be 100% controlled by the business or the finance team, as opposed to the IT team. That's my vision.
Yes, just to add, sorry for interrupting, just to add to the problem of implementation of solutions. I think one of the problems that we have at the moment as well, for finance people to have information about all of those technologies. It's very difficult to find consulting company or any organization that they can give advice what will really work for them, whether this technology is not going to be outdated in a couple of years, what it will bring them. So I would say that so many different opportunities, but somehow not many can say that what will work for you, and to
Yep.
give even those big consulting companies, big four, normally they can give you advice about a limited number of technologies. And when I look at this, it's already not vendor agnostic. You see, they are giving me this advice because they're using this technology, because they know this technology. So this is one of the biggest problems as well. And people also asking the questions, okay, we invest today, but how we can make sure that this technology is still applicable in 3 years, because it's a lot of money. This is another problem, James.
Yep. No, I find that, and I think part of the problem is that just kind of how many solutions are out there at the moment. I don't know. I know you've been involved and you kind of work with a lot of people, and every day I speak to another company that's got another planning solution. So it's really difficult even for somebody in the industry to keep up. So yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. It's kind of trying to find the fit of kind of what's going to work for your company, and what's also not looking at just the short term, like what is going to help to scale with the company. Is often like a big challenge. And sometimes we've seen clients selecting a particular piece of software because it's it looks nice on the cover, but unfortunately it hasn't worked, and they've had to change midstream. So again, it's a really difficult exercise to do, and we try and help companies as much as we can, but it's, again, there's so many options out there, it's difficult to keep up. Yeah, so again, let's get on to talking a little bit about AI and FP&A. Currently the data suggests you've only got 7%. You've mentioned that a couple of times, of people that are using AI and predictive analytics. I think this is obviously been declining, but I don't know. You guys run the AI. You've got a separate think tank on this. Where are you seeing kind of the opportunities for FP&A to use AI, and then kind of if somebody out there is looking to kind of think about leveraging AI, where do you think it's like a good place to start?
Thank you. It's a great question. And I would like to start almost 6 years ago when I traveled the world with my FP&A board. I already started to see organizations that started to implement AI ML not in accounts payables and receivables or somewhere else, yeah, but they started to implement this in FP&A for revenue forecasting, for cost forecasting, and all of that. And we created our AI ML FP&A committee. In March, it will be 6 years. At the moment, we have 60 members from those leading organizations. All of them are our FP&A board members, senior practitioners, C4, FD level. And what we do, we meet online 4 times a year, and we look at the case study all the time. And people joining us from America, from Asia, even from Australia when it's very late, from Europe. And we look at the case studies, and we have opportunity in our very close community to debate and to discuss. And all of those AIML committee members, those companies that already implemented this or started to implement. We looked at the case studies of Microsoft, Swarovski, Philips, Swiss Rail, Deutsche Bahn, Vodafone, and many others. Some of the information you can find on our website, and again, the link should be posted right now by my assistant, or it's already there. So you can find information over there, but some of those cases definitely very internal, and companies are not ready to share this with the entire world. So, but what I would like to say, if those people are here that already started to implement it, very interested to join, you can apply. You can apply directly to us, please. We would be interested to hear what you do. So, definitely things are happening, and there are different levels of development of AI and FP&A. At the beginning, it started with machine learning and with very simple algorithm of revenue forecasting. And we looked, it's quite well-known case study of Microsoft, and we looked at a number of case studies from the Japanese team in America, in Europe as well. The next step was to create a forecasting not only of the revenue, but also the whole, or at least the majority of profit and loss account lines. And I think the next step, the most sophisticated companies already started to do, this is exactly what we mentioned, James, to understand the data, to find out with help of AIML what are the most sensitive data, those that really should be used in algorithm and model and can help us to manage the organization, to manage the decision-making process. The companies at different levels of development, some are really good, some are really bad, and I really know some cases when the couple of team members had to resign because they were so much unhappy about this project. So what I want to say that not everyone is ready to say that the machine will be forecasting this for you. People have a lot of doubts. It's one of the biggest issue. Another issue, obviously, this is the quality of data. What's the reason to create it if the quality of data is not there yet? Another reason, it's not enough local knowledge, and people start to implement this through consultancies. But some consultancies can have no idea what is FP&A and what is the finance. The key for success, and I see that it's working, you have to find those people that can manage the both worlds, that can create the language between a data science team and finance team. And I know those, for example, Philips, and we shared these case studies at our webinars. Definitely not the classical analyst, not the classical data scientist, but the finance person who understands both worlds, and the finance person who can manage this and to create this environment. And it's definitely success. I also seen how the different models could be used, the way how you employ it. I already mentioned that a quite junior analyst who understands both worlds can really change the way how you plan. So this is when you have this internally, you hire a person who is doing this for you, or you develop your people to understand it. As I said, the consultancy world, try to find the consultancy that understands the finance world, because to have this generic, sometimes it doesn't work, at least some of the experience I saw. And there could be some hybrids when you develop this inside of your team and also you use the external company's experiences. There are cheaper ways to do this, the most expensive ways to do this, but we all shouldn't ignore it. But the most important message is, there are a lot of conversations. Oh my God, ChatGPT is going to be FP&A director in a couple of years, and people seriously, educated people discuss this. I would say that it's all about human intelligence getting support from artificial intelligence, not the opposite. If we allow the opposite, then probably the world is not going to be the good place. Our jobs are going to change with this. The trend will continue. We will become more sophisticated with this, but definitely we are the masters, and the technology is helping us to be those masters. This is my message.
No, that's very true. I mean, the work that we do is typically we want to give what machine learning insights or AI insights are available, and what you don't want to do is you don't want to take away the responsibility or the ownership of planning, because if you miss your plan, then it's the machine's fault, it's not your fault. So there are definitely levers that can be pulled, and organizations can, especially when you're looking at things like revenue, where you can control, you can push certain things, you can increase marketing and things like that. What we don't want to get into is being, just the machine is giving us the answer, and everybody's kind of going about their days, because really it's about teams committing and understanding. And I always, from a very high level, I've always seen that the budget and the plan is always kind of in the embodiment of the strategy, and to be able to kind of drive the business in a certain direction, and that may be in a new direction to what we've done before. So looking at historic trends is not necessarily going to help us. So I do think, like you say, it's always like a balance between the two.
James, it's very, very important conclusion from you that historic trends not always getting us where we will be.
Yeah.
That is why the world at the moment, it's all about the world of understanding your drivers. Because the drivers, we understand them. We can manage a lot of scenarios around them. So it's all about agility, about ability to understand your key drivers and to manage the scenarios. So this is a good conclusion.
Great. So just an interesting thing in your survey, which I found a bit strange, is kind of just investment in finance. I know that we talked a little bit about the challenges organizations are facing. We've talked about the advancements in AI and ML, and but what we're seeing is that it's difficult to get investment in a finance organization to implement a new planning solution, or be able to kind of clean up the data, or you start to think about bringing in somebody that's got AI experience. What are your thoughts on this? And do we see that the investment is there's still finance is being underfunded in a lot of cases?
Definitely underfunded. If you look at the up to 70% of companies still do their planning in Excel, definitely underfunded. Or maybe funded, maybe invested in the wrong solutions. Maybe some of the solutions already outdated and require a lot of bridges. Maybe underfunding in education of people in order to create the best, in order to get the best from the solutions. How to overcome this? Obviously, you know your decision makers better, but one of the effective ways, take the maturity model, evaluate where you are at the moment, and show to your decision makers where the best-in-class companies are and what is the where they should be. And also tell them that the maturity model wasn't created by consultants, by vendors. It was created by senior practitioners for senior practitioners. So see where you are and where you should be, and ask the question: Would I like to be flexible and dynamic, or would I like to be somewhere behind the curve?
No,
It's
that's
one of
great.
the solutions, but there could be many others.
All right, so I think we're just about to wrap up. But if there's any other questions from the audience, please post them in the chat. But Larysa, what are your kind of final kind of advice to kind of FP&A practitioners? Given all the information that you have in the survey, what is kind of your thoughts on kind of how they can, change or kind of improve FP&A as a function?
First of all, I seriously think that FP&A is the most interesting job in finance, and it's going to become even more interesting. This is the job that combines the analytical skills. This is the art and science, and you can create with your curiosity, with your knowledge. You can create a lot of things, and you help your organizations to move on. But at the same time, you could be sometimes very much demotivated by the old systems and processes, by spending so much of your time on those not interesting tasks on these low value adding activities. So to the management, I definitely would like to let them know that if it continues this way, you may lose not only the competition, but also the best of your people, because to find the good people, it's not easy. And my advice would be creative, learn, try to be not just finance and FP&A professional, but the expert in other fields. So educate yourself, challenge everything, especially our traditional management, accounting, planning, budgeting processes. Work on your models and try for them to be really dynamic, and understand how modern technology can help you. It would be my advice. And enjoy this beautiful profession. And of course, attend our webinars and visit fp&atrends.com and speak to James about FP&A strategy.
Sounds great. And I just wanted to remind everybody that's been watching this that the 2024 FP&A Trends Survey is open, and your experience and your information and putting answering in the questions is extremely valuable. I mean, Larysa's already collected over 2,000 responses, but what we want to do is we want to measure trends, and hopefully you guys can fill out the form below. So just like to thank Larysa, and any last words?
James, thank you so much. Such a pleasure to collaborate with you on this webinar. And thank you everyone who came here to listen to us. If you have any questions, you can directly connect with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All the best.